The Chicago White Sox lead the Big Apple with one big victory thanks to Andrew Benintendi's grand slam as they take their show on the road once again to Motown this weekend. On the north side, the Chicago Cubs have won back-to-back series for the first time in a month. Can they keep the good times rolling against Canadians' favorite team, the Toronto Blue Jays? In basketball, Tiago Splitter, Bulls head coach, while another former Chicago hockey legend receives his flowers. We'll have your golf U.S. Open update, and we'll have your soccer World Cup update as well, with USA getting down to the get down in Seattle later on today. That and a whole lot more. So Friday Funk edition of Second City Sports start now.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Keep him on the field. And this one, dragged into left center field. Going back is Churio at the wall. Get out! Robert Jr., his fourth of the season. And the Sox take the lead 2-1.
Armstrong gets into another one. Sends Edman back. He's watching it land in the stands. What a night from Pete Crow Armstrong. Goes wide, up the guard again. And he scores. What a play!
On Jordan Binnington, no chance at all for the Blues netminders. Connor Bedard. Wow.
Giddy, what a pass. Buzelis with the fake on the drive.
J motions up. They're blitzing. It's picked up. Caleb throws. Middle of the field. Lovell catch. Breaks away the 30. Lovell 20. Lovell 10. Lovell end zone. Touchdown Bears.
Welcome to another Friday Funk edition of Second City Sports. You're locked and loaded, and we're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. LaKeena McGee is she. Sidney Brown here. You know it's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, X, and the IG.
Be sure to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And for those of you that are watching on YouTube, if you can, please hype the video so we can get this out to many people as possible so we can be your destination for Chicago and national sports talk. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We're unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinion during our 2-hour extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show, you better hit us up right now at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the up on the screen for you. But if you decide to troll and or do something silly, dumb, or stupid, I've given LaKeena full powers to give you Dumbos to Bill and Beer Boot.
Toodles.
But before we begin, shout out to our live game that's LIVE, live entertainment game, and checking us out live in the living color right now at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook and YouTube channels at 12:20 p.m. Central Standard Time. But as always, much love to the replay game that's checking us out on the replay, also at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook and YouTube channels. Don't you ever forget our motto where we talk sports, music, or entertainment. We will always provide.
We'll provide you with the best on Second City Sports as a legendary hockey player and a big part of a Blackhawks legend says goodbye. Also, too, we got an update from the U.S. Open over at Shinnecock in upstate New York. The U.S. men is gearing up for a big match against Australia as second round of group play is in full swing. And, of course, the Bulls officially named Tiago Splitter as their new head coach. What does he have in store for the Bulls? Where is Giannis going? And also where LeBron's going? There's some updates there as well. And so much more, some sports media news as one rising star in the Chicago media ranks. She says goodbye. But first, Sid, let's talk some baseball as the White Sox got a big win to avoid getting swept by the Yankees thanks to Andrew Benintendi's grand slam as they avoid the sweep in New York City, beating the Yankees 5-1. They did still lose the series, though, after giving up 22 runs, being outscored 22-7 in those first two games against the Yankees. But they did get that rubber match to avoid the sweep. They are now in Detroit as they will face a Tiger squad that it's been up and down to say the least. We had thought that maybe they got it back going, but then they lose 2 out of 3 in Houston. And the White Sox, well, I mean, look, they stay with the Yankees. I know some people are touting this, the Braves, the Dodgers, and the Yankees. They went 6-5. Okay, they're 39 and 34 now. Unfortunately, like I said, the first 2 games against the Yankees, they kind of got a little reality check there. They're in Detroit at Comerica Park to face the Tigers, where it'll be Eric Fetty against Tariq Skubal. We'll see what happens with that matchup, how the Bats do against Skubal in the second game back from his injury. So let's say, what do you think about the White Sox performance against the Yankees this week?
I'll be honest with you, as an observer, I'm not surprised of what happened because of the competition that the Sox played. As we said on the show on Monday, that even though the Yankees will be without Aaron Judge until the All-Star break, the Yankees still have a good lineup. Paul Goldschmidt, Ben Rice, and some of the other guys that are in that lineup. They came through in those first 2 games of that series. And on the flip side for the White Sox, starting pitching has been their glaring hole all year, especially a veteran starter, which hopefully GM Chris Getz is on the phones working on right now between now and the August 3rd trade deadline. Davis Martin, this is the second out of his last 3 starts that he's lost on the road, and that one big inning got away from him in the Tuesday opener. Anthony Kay, who's been pitching well for the month of May. So far in the month of June, he's been horrible, and it's reached his ugly head on Wednesday. But last night, LaKeena, Brian Hudson started out the game in the inning 2/3 with a couple of strikeouts. Sean Burke, who's really been struggling, especially in his last start against the Los Angeles Dodgers a week ago tomorrow. He came up big last night, pitching the 7 1/3 with 8 strikeouts, giving up 1 home run. But after that, he shut the Yankees down thereafter. So he came back big with a big performance. But as I said before, and I'll say it again, without Murakami, this White Sox team still are able to score runs. You saw that again in this series. You saw it again last night when they needed it most. The starting pitching, especially a veteran starting pitcher, is a glaring hole in this team right now, and that's what happens when you play teams that are better than you. The White Sox got a good measuring stick, but you go on stay on the road to play a Tigers team that you swept to end the month of May. It's going to be a little bit tougher now that you're in Detroit for the first time this year. But the Sox should be able to do well, and we'll see what happens. Like you mentioned, that tough matchup tonight, Tariq Skubal against Eric Fetty. In my opinion, Eric Fetty is pitching for his White Sox life. If he pitches a good game tonight, he stays on the team. If not, he should be able to go. He should be gone. But given the injuries that the White Sox have currently, especially within their starting staff, Eric Fetty is on the roster by happenstance.
Look, Davis Martin got rocked in that Monday matchup. Bellinger and Goldschmidt. Goldschmidt had a great series. He had 2 home runs, had like 3 RBIs in that series. The first couple of games. I will say, though, Colson Montgomery, shout out to him. He hit his 40th home run a couple of days ago. It only is 140th at bat this season. Well, his whole career. That's tied for the 6th fastest to reach 40 home runs in MLB history. So a little bit of history there for him. Can he keep it up? We'll see. But like I said, I mean, I think, look, this is like people forget that the Yankees have had a really solid record since Aaron Judge has been to the IL. So I think they're like 8-2 or something like that, or 7-2 or something like that since he got into the IL. So that's still a very deep Yankees squad. And I know Chad Stitz had a couple of big hits as well during that series. So we knew this would be a tough series for the White Sox. I think more reasonable White Sox fans. The White Sox should be glad that they got a game. It could have been swept. So I think that's really what really kind of shows here. Now this game here, I mean, look, Fetty, this is sort of like his way to kind of like that Tiger squad has not looked good, so far with the various injuries that they've had, including Skubal himself. So it's going to be very interesting to see if the White Sox, they should be able to win this series. But again, you never know. We've seen weirder things happen. And like I said, I mean, the White Sox, hey, Colson Montgomery, you wanted the people to start paying attention to the White Sox. Well, now people are paying attention. Again, you lose 2 out of 3 to one of the top teams in the AL. So this is sort of like a Detroit team that you should be able to take care of. So we'll see. Now going to this matchup, tomorrow's matchup, the White Sox, Will Venable has not announced who it's going to be, but they will play Troy Melton, who's actually been one of the few bright spots for the Tigers. Meanwhile, Davis Martin hoping to bounce back after a couple of tough starts. He'll face the old veteran Justin Verlander in the rematch of that Tigers series. So, like I said, it's going to be very interesting what the White Sox will be at this point, because I know Cleveland, we'll talk about Cleveland after the break, but I feel like this White Sox team should be able to take care of business against Detroit. But again, I would be surprised if they somehow lose 2 out of 3. So, look, we've seen this White Sox team. We've seen how they do against some of the good teams. Now let's see how they do against a team that they should be able to win pretty easily.
You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. LaKeena here, kicking it with you as we open the show talking about the 39-34 White Sox. They are tied for first place in the AL Central with the Cleveland Guardians. LaKeena, just a couple of notes from the Yankees series as we talk about all the time, especially in the playoffs, but it happens quite a bit in the regular season as well. Great pitching beats great hitting. The Yankees had it in the first 2 games. The White Sox didn't. Garrett Cole was outstanding for the Yankees on Tuesday. Carlos Rodon, the former White Sox pitcher from that 2021 division winning team, he was excellent. The southpaw left-hander was excellent on Wednesday. But as I mentioned, Sean Burke stepped up big time last night to keep the Yankees at bay. You mentioned about Chaz Chisholm. He got injured, had a foul ball off his groin last night. If you saw that, it was very painful, to say the least, no pun intended. So hopefully he's okay for his sake, for the Yankees' sake as well. But going into the series for the Tigers, I'm looking for a couple of guys to step up. Miguel Vargas, I know people talk about him being an all-star. He has the power numbers. That batting average still has to be a little bit respectable, in my opinion. But I'm looking for Vargas to have a big series. I'm also looking forward to Chase might drop having a big series. I know he had a hitting streak that ended around last weekend against the Dodgers. Struggled a little bit in that series against the Yankees with that bat. His gloves have been excellent, but that bat has to come around. So I'm looking for him to have a big series. And I'm looking for Sam Antonacci to continue his good luck streak on getting on base as well. You saw what he did the other night with a home run, and you saw what he did last night. So going 1 for 2 with a walk. So the White Sox just had to have other guys. We said this when Murakami was out there, that to have other guys step up. It's going to have to be a complete team effort. So far that has been the case. But I'm looking for Vargas, Antonacci, and Maitrach to have big series with the bat this weekend in Detroit.
Should be interesting over there at the up in the Motor City. So we're taking a really quick break. We'll talk some Cubs as they take 2 out of 3 against the Rockies. They face the Blue Jays starting this weekend. But also Trout. Well, he made it through halfway through the season without going to IL. Now he's going to be on the IL for a while, and a couple of big performances this weekend, as well as the Phillies are starting to catch up a little bit as the Braves are have a tough week this week themselves. LaKeena, McGee, City Brown, Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago. More Diamond talk from the week coming up right after this.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms, on Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel. You can find us at Sports Zone Chicago, and on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Shy. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
Got it done here. Ouch! And we're gonna make sure you lit this time. punch.
You're not gonna get me this time.
Ow, Manny!
Whoops. Let's try an easy one.
Every day we take steps to keep the people we love safe, but some health risks are easy to miss. Ticks hiding in the yard can spread germs, like the ones that cause Lyme disease. Mice searching for food can spread bacteria that makes us sick. Mosquitoes lay eggs in standing water and can spread West Nile virus and more. Cockroaches are drawn to water in the home, leaving behind allergens that can trigger asthma attacks. Common pests can threaten our health. Learn how to protect your family at pestworld.org.
Hey, this is Corey McGetty, and I listen to Sean and Maya on the morning show.
Welcome back to the hashtag Friday Fun edition of Second City Sports. You're locked and loaded, and we're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid the Kid is me, LaKeena McGee is she. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG is SidKid80. Once again, that's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, X, and the IG.
As we continue the baseball talk, talking White Sox, Cubs, and everything else in between Major League Baseball for this half hour. So if you have any questions or comments regarding that subject for the world of baseball, you can definitely hit us up right now at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions and comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the up on the screen for you.
Cubs win their second series in a row, beating the Rockies 2 out of 3 over at Wrigley as they score 7 in the second inning on Wednesday to seal the win series win there. They also got home runs from PCA, who's been on a tear lately, as well as Dansby Swanson, who he started to get out of his slump, so that helps a little bit. Now, unfortunately, the pitching is still a little bit of an issue, but they're doing just enough, though, to kind of eke it out here. As far as playing Toronto, the Blue Jays, they've been probably one of the more disappointing teams this week. So getting the chance to play Toronto, I think that should definitely help. Now I know Toronto, they just swept the Red Sox, but yeah, the Red Sox aren't very good. So we'll see what happens. But Matt Gossman against Kevin Gossman, I should say, against Ben Brown. That should be a fun matchup today. They're going to be first pitch will be in about 45 minutes from now, give or take. Colin Ray against Patrick Corbin for tomorrow, and also for Sunday, Shota hoping to get back. He can get back to be the good Shota. We've seen the bad Shota last couple of starts. So we'll see how he does against Dylan Cease. Of course, he's back for the Blue Jays. So what do you think about the Cubs this week against Colorado?
That Sunday game will be weather permitting because there's supposed to be some rain in the area. Hopefully they get the majority of that game in. But excuse me, regarding that Rockies series, you saw the good, the bad, and the ugly for the Chicago Cubs. I'll start with the bad first. Edward Cabrera, and that started on Wednesday, went out with an injury. Was not good. We'll see what happens with him. As we talked about all year, the injuries just killed this team. No pun intended, but killed this team. Speaking of Cabrera and that performance before he left it with an injury the other night on Wednesday, 4 1/3 innings with two walks and 3 strikeouts. His control has been shaky at best in his last few starts. You saw that again on Wednesday. And of course, he had to win in a walk-off the day before against the Rockies. But The only good thing that happened, a couple of things that happened this week, in my opinion, that was good for the Cubs. Actually, the bullpen actually showed up on Tuesday in that series opener, even though you won in walk-off fashion. And you mentioned about Shota Imanaga, the good and the bad and the ugly. Well, he was decent enough on Tuesday, pitching 5 2/3 innings and limiting his runs given up with the ERA. So, and also to Pete Crow Armstrong, as you mentioned, I told somebody this the other day. He's been the hottest hitter for the Cubs in the month of June. In his last 7 days, he has 12 hits, 5 runs scored, with 4 home runs and 5 runs knocked in. So, and for the month of June, he has 8 home runs and 11 RBIs. So, Pete Crow Armstrong has earned his All-Star selection if he's voted in by the fans. He's been one of the few bright spots for the Cubs during the month of June. So, however Pete Crow Armstrong goes, this team goes for the Chicago Cubs.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting if he can keep it going, because he's kind of helped. Like I said, Dansby, he's gotten out of his slump. I know Michael Busch has looked really good. Ian Happ had a couple of big hits in that series against Colorado. So I think for me, if you're the Cubs right now, look, Milwaukee, we'll get to Milwaukee in a second, but look, Milwaukee's going to do what they're going to do their thing. I know they won 2 out of 3 against Cleveland, but look, you just got to take care of business against teams. Look, Toronto, you should be able to at least 2 out of 3 to win this. I know that Gossman matchup, Gossman's been one of the few bright spots for Toronto. I know, like I said, I know they're coming off a sweep. I guess Boston. So we'll see how they might be in a little bit of a role here. So we'll see how they do. Now you do face a Mets squad that's been kind of meh this year. Sorry, next week. I know they lost 2 out of 3. I know they won their opener against the Phillies. I know Philly fans are happy about that. We'll get to that in a second. But yeah, I think for me, if you're the Cubs, just like the soft part of your schedule, you're finishing at that soft part. Hasn't looked good so far. You're starting to kind of heat up a little bit. I mean, like I said, a sweep would be nice, but I think if you're the Cubs, 2 out of 3 against the Toronto, you should be able to beat.
LaKeena, let me ask you a question. I know we talked about Dansby Swanson being booed for various reasons, mostly because of that big contract he signed a few years ago. I know many Cub fans are taking their anger out on him, but I want to ask you about Nico Hoerner. I know he went 1 for 5 the other night. He was 0 for 4 and 0 for had another 0 for on Tuesday. I want to ask you, I know he has the defense, he has the glove. I know he's considered the best hitter on the team average-wise. We talked about this at various points last year, but his current batting average stands at .233. How worried are you about Mr. Hoerner right now with his bat? Not his glove, but his bat.
I think he may have to. You may have to bring him down the lineup a little bit. I mean, the guy's got 3 or 4 Gold Gloves, so it's not like that's why you keep him there, is because of the defense. Now, I would say maybe moving him in the order may help a little bit, so because you don't want to lose that defense and that glove. Maybe I know Craig Counsell's been playing around with different lineup combinations and such, so maybe moving him down might help him a little bit. So I know, like I said, I saw the fans. Really, Cubs fans can be very merciless at times. But I think if they could maybe move him down the lineup, maybe it could help him out a little bit. But like I say, there's a reason why. Look, the man's got multiple Gold Gloves, so that defense, you're gonna need his defense. So I think maybe moving him down the order is probably just what he needs. So we'll have to wait and see what happens.
And of course, in right field, Matt Shaw's off the injured list. He had 2 RBIs the other night in that series win off of Colorado 8-5. Of course, Seiya Suzuki's been quietly swinging a hot stick too. He had an RBI in that win on Wednesday. Do you think things are settled in right field finally, barring any major injuries? As we said last year when Kyle Tucker was here, Seiya Suzuki's defense is scary to say the least. But Matthew Shaw, his glove is much better out there in right field. Barring any injuries, do you think right field will finally settle? The issues finally settled in right field, at least for the moment.
I think so. I think Shaw. I think that's why you brought Shaw back, is because of his defense and his glove. I think I think he also gives him the spark. So yeah, I think that outfield is just fine for the Cubs. So I think we'll see how they do with these next few games against Toronto. And the Mets. Now going into the rest of MLB here as the Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago. LaKeena, McGee, Sidney Brown with you. Now we talked about the Yankees, of course. Unfortunately, the Rays they're starting to kind of slip a little bit. They got swept by the Dodgers. So I think, like I said, I don't know. Look, I don't know if New York, I don't know if the Yankees are going to run away with the AL East, but I think at least for right now, it looks like maybe the Rays, they got to get it back going. They want to stay with the Yankees because the fact that the Yankees, like I said, the Yankees are doing all this without Aaron Judge. So the fact that they've been able to have a solid record and be ahead by 3 against Tampa, I think kind of speaks volumes.
Yes, we talked about with the White Sox and the Yankees doing our opening segment. Good pitching beats great hitting. I know Shohei Ohtani got knocked around the other day, but the Dodgers came found a way to win that ball game. But for Tampa, it all starts with their pitching. Shane McClanahan, and you still have Rasmussen, who's having both of them are having great years. But their offense did not come up to deliver that big hit or draw that big walk when they had to. The Tampa is a good team, but you run into better teams like the Dodgers. You got to find other ways to beat teams like that. You're not gonna always do it with the long ball. You got to be creative and do the hit and run, steal bases, be aggressive on the base pass. Tampa, they tried. They had the pitching. They got a solid bullpen. They just couldn't. Outside of Wednesday's game when they knocked Ohtani around a little bit, you couldn't find that big hit where they needed it the most. So the Dodgers, again, we talked about, they've been here time and time again. They come up with big hits and big plays where they needed it most.
Yeah, it really did. I think they showed you why they're the 2-time champions. Yeah, so it's gonna be interesting to see if they can at least stay with the Yankees, and we'll see what happens there. Now Cleveland, 2 out of 3. They lost, like I said, to Milwaukee. And Milwaukee, look, that's a tough place to play. So if you're Cleveland, you can't be too. The White Sox would do the same thing at the beginning of the year, so you can't be too upset over that. Benzina's go-ahead solo home run helped the Guardians avoid game swept, I should say. So, we'll see what happens. They face Houston. They got to go down to Houston to continue their road trip. But yeah, Minnesota's. But don't look now. Minnesota's only 4.5 back. Both of them, they swept the Rangers down there in Arlington. And look, Byron Buxton. I mean, I know there's been some trade speculation around. I know the Twins ownership stuff is kind of an upheaval right now. But if they're only 4.5 back, I doubt they're going to do anything. But I know Buxton is. Look, he can only do what he can do. You can't worry about what's going on over there. But he's had some big hits for the Twins, especially in that series against Texas.
Yeah, he's been healthy for the most part this year. I know he's not playing center field full time now. He's spending most of his time DHing. He's in the leadoff spot, and he's that spark plug for the Twins. Also, too, let's not forget about Joe Ryan. He's on the speculations to be on the trading block for the August 3rd trade deadline too. Do I take the Twins seriously? I still don't. I'm not saying this as a goofy White Sox fan, but I still don't take the Twins seriously. As you say, talk to me in a month. I want to see the Twins get over 500 and stay over 500. Like we said about the White Sox, get to 500, stay over 500, and then we'll take you seriously. Until that happens, I don't see the Twins doing anything anytime soon. I think it says more about Texas, which we'll get to later. But going to that Cleveland-Milwaukee series, I had a chance to watch a couple of games in its entirety for that series, at least the first 2 games. Those 2 teams mirror each other. And now with the Cleveland Guardians, I know many people say that they're equipped to handle the Jose Ramirez injury. We'll see, because those first 2 games, it didn't look good. They had the pitching. They had the bullpen. Gavin Williams got rocked on Wednesday. But their offense is going to have to be creative, just like we said with the Tampa Bay Rays. And Milwaukee, they lack power, but Christian Yelich, he's a quote-unquote old man in baseball years, but he still can hit a good stick. Jackson Churiel had a couple big games in that series as well. So, and also we all know that they have a strong pitching staff and a great bullpen. They missed Jacob Mizorowski in this series. I'm talking about for Cleveland, but Milwaukee got after it. I know they failed to complete the sweep yesterday, but Milwaukee and Cleveland, they mirror each other. And for Cleveland, if they want to stay in this race with the White Sox, they got to find some ways to score some runs consistently offensively, because they let that power stick with Jose Ramirez being gone for the foreseeable future.
Well, I mean, like I said, we'll see if the Milwaukee can keep that up, but we'll see what happens there. Now, I'm not saying this, because of that, but you never know. I mean, the Miz, the Miz has looked really good. I know they missed him in this series. I know that He leads the league in Ks and ERA, opposing average, and opposing batters pitch. But yeah, I mean, over 100 years, only pitchers to finishing the league in those four categories. Not a bad list to join Sandy Koufax back in 1965 and Mike Scott back in 86. Now, can he keep it up? We'll have to wait and see. So, yeah, I'm still, like I said, get back to me about a month as far as Milwaukee is concerned. Now, Cleveland, like I said, we'll have to wait and see. This looks like Rivers might not be back until after the All-Star break. So we'll have to wait and see with that. Now, going to the AL West, 2 out of 3, talk about Seattle, they beat Baltimore. Brian Woos, there are seven scoreless innings for him yesterday in the rubber match of that series. And Cole Emerson drove in 2 of Seattle's 3 first inning runs. And he's, like I said, I think Woo's been a really solid. Of course, with Skubal, haven't been out. I think he might make a case for the AL Cy Young. He has a 5K walk ratio through his first 4 MLB seasons after that win yesterday. The only pitchers to have that 5 or better through 4 big league seasons. George Kirby did it for a couple of years. Last year, Shane Bieber and also Masahiro Tanaka and Tommy Bond, who did it way back in the 70s. So, like I said, I don't know. I don't know if Seattle's going to run away with that AL West, but the Seattle, I think they're making a case. But look at we're still right there. The A's. I mean, the A's. I know they lost 2 out of 3 to Pittsburgh, but like I said, the A's have been right there. We saw that when they played the White Sox. So I don't know. That AL West is going to be very interesting this next month.
Yeah, it gets a little bit more challenging for Seattle. Julio Rodriguez left the game the other day, with a tightness in his hamstring. You can't play with hamstrings. You find that out here in Chicago with the Murakami. So hopefully in J-Rod's case, everything's going to be okay with him because Seattle needs him back in that lineup. Of course, you still have Josh Naylor. You have Randy Rosarino. Those guys got to step in and step up. And I know Josh Naylor had a big double yesterday, and that went for Seattle. So Seattle just had to get some consistent offense going. They have a strong starting staff, as you mentioned. They have a great bullpen. We said that last year too. That was one of the reasons why they were in the ALCS against Toronto. So they have the pieces right there. Just got to get something going offensively for 2 or 3 weeks, as we said, and we'll say it again for this AL West. Whoever has a hot streak consistently for the next 2 or 3 weeks, this is going to be your winner in this AL West. Texas, I don't know what the hell's been up with them. They got swept by Minnesota. And if you're talking about any of these teams, like say Houston, I ain't expect them to do anything this year. I don't take them seriously. Oakland, yes, I said it. We call them Oakland on this show. Oakland, I think they still 1 game below 500, but I still consider them a threat. No one expected them to make this kind of jump this year, but Texas has been a disappointing team in my opinion, and I know they have a first-year manager there, but I don't know what the hell's going on with them. But we're between Oakland, Texas, and Seattle. Seattle on paper is still the favorite, but as we said before, we'll keep saying this until someone gets hot for the next 2 or 3 weeks. Whoever gets on that hot streak, that's going to be a team that's going to win this division, in my opinion.
Yeah, going to be very interesting to see what happens in these next 6 weeks before the trade deadline. As you listen to Second Seed Sports on Sports in Chicago, LaKeena McGee. Today, Brown with you as we talk this week in baseball. And, we'll go to the National League in a second here. But Mike Trout, who, we kind of commended him for not being, on the IL. Well, now he's on the IL with a hamstring injury he suffered during that series against the Diamondbacks in the rubber match there, of course. But yeah, I mean, I think I know he doesn't want to get traded and such because but it seems like a lot of his years or seasons are being wasted. So you just gotta feel bad for Trout and that whole Angels organization.
Yeah, you have his former teammate Kurt Suzuki, former catchers, only signed a 1-year deal to manage the team, which makes no sense. I know we complain about Reinsdorf here in Chicago, and rightfully so, but Artie Moreno stinks as an owner for the Angels. I know fan safety is important with all these owners, but you rate that above than your team winning the World Series. I don't get that, but that's to a whole nother story. But the Angels really tripped over their own. They have tripped over their own 2 feet ever since they won the World Series 4 years ago, if my math is correct. So, and they haven't been to the playoffs since 2014, and that's to date. That's only been Mike Trout's lone playoff appearance against the runner-up World Series runner-up Kansas City Royals. So, it's been putrid over there in Southern California for a long time. I know Anaheim is in its own metropolis, and they've done a bad job signing free agents and drafting players. Remember, they were supposed to have this youth movement a couple of years ago. Most of those players are not there anymore, so it's just been bad. They usually get decent crowds there, but if you're an Angels fan, you deserve much better than what you're getting right now. Like you said, Trout's prime years are being wasted in that putrid of an organization.
Yeah, just we can go on a long tangent about that organization, but yeah, like, we all got time for it, unfortunately. But yeah, going to the national, now we go to the National League. The Braves, they lost to the Giants. I think that last game got postponed due to weather, but they struggled a little bit this week. Philadelphia, they won 2 out of 3 against Miami. I know they lost their opener against the Mets, but they're now only 7 back. So, and also, look, the Nationals, they're quite, I mean, they're still hanging on, winning 2 out of 3 as they host the Royals.
Yeah, Washington, they took advantage. I know, like you said, they failed to sweep Kansas City, but they're a good team. James Wood, one of the best leadoff hitters in the game. He's your right fielder. C.J. Abrams is a starting shortstop on the right. We talked about him for the last couple of years. So as we said before, we saw them against both Chicago teams early in the year. We said that we didn't expect them to be this good, but you may have to consider them as a serious threat for a wild card spot. I think they're still a little bit ways away from that, but they've been playing better baseball over the last month or so. Now, with the Philadelphia Phillies, you mentioned they took 2 or 3 from the Miami Marlins. The Marlins are still 1 game below 500. How the hell they're doing it, I don't know. But Philadelphia is still a good team. I know they lost the opener to their 4-game weekend series against the Mets last night. Juan Soto took care of that. But I still believe that Philadelphia can give Atlanta sort of a threat in that National League East. If they don't win it, of course, their bad start in April, which culminated with that firing of Robbie Thompson, will cost them the division title. But Philadelphia is my top spot for that top wild card spot in the National League. The Braves just had a bad week. It happens, but they're still one of the best teams in baseball. Definitely one of the top 2 teams in the National League next to the Los Angeles Dodgers.
And I know Acuna has been out with that hamstring. Speaking of hamstring, with the hamstring theme, I know he's been out last week. Of course, the hamstring he suffered against the White Sox. So we'll see if look. I mean, the Phillies are only 7 back, so they could catch up. So we'll see. Going to the Central here, like I said, the Brewers. We talked about the Brewers. I mean, they won 2 out of 3 against the Guardians. Now, St. Louis is an interesting team. Now, again, I don't know if they're for real or not, but this was supposed to be a rebuilding year, but we'll see. I mean, they beat the Padres 2 out of 3. They did lose their opener and their 4-gamer against the Royals, being outscored 14-6. You can thank Bobby Wood Jr. For that one. He hit the first, and ended up being 3 home runs for Kansas City to take. Well, he left because of an injury. I think he hurt his right knee, but even still, I mean, they lost. It's kind of like a matchup of the 1985 World Series. For those of you who remember that one, but old enough to remember that one. But
yes.
But yeah, like I said, we talked about the Cubs. Pittsburgh. I mean, they, like I said, they did win 2 out of 3 against the A's. So we'll see if they can, probably stay within that range. I don't think Milwaukee's going to run away with that division. I just don't. This isn't me like being, Cubs, whatever. But I just, like I said, I just don't see Milwaukee. Like I said, I know that Milwaukee's been good, but I don't think they're going to run away with that such right. I just don't.
We'll see if Cincinnati can get their act together. As we talked about early in the year, they got out to a strong start. And, of course, the Cubs took care of them back in early May at Wrigley. And Cincinnati's been a mediocre effort since. Milwaukee is the favorite on paper in that division, as I talked about before. They don't have the consistent home run power in their lineup, but they beat you in other ways. They play fundamentally sound baseball. Pittsburgh, they were brought back to reality over the last 3 or 4 weeks. And, of course, Chicago, as we talked about before. Don't worry about what Milwaukee's doing. Don't worry about what St. Louis is doing. Just keep winning series, and you'll get back into this race.
Yeah, so I think that's all you can do there if you're the Cubs. Now, as far as the West, I know the Dodgers, we talked about them earlier. They, of course, they sweep the Rays, the Padres. They lose 2 out of 3 to St. Louis. The Diamondbacks, like I said, just when you thought the Diamondbacks were starting to figure things out, they did win 2 out of 3 against the Angels, but and they faced the Twins this week, but that might be all she wrote there. But even with despite all the struggles, I know San Francisco, they had a nice week this week, sweeping, winning 2 out. We talked about that. They won 2 in Atlanta, but I think the Dodgers are showing you why they're the 2-time defending World Series champs.
I said this to someone the other day. I'll say it to you. Of course, the Dodgers lost 2 out of 3 in Chicago last weekend to the White Sox. Of course, they swept Tampa Bay earlier this week. But it's all about the rest of the teams in that division, LaKeena. You talk about San Diego, 38 and 35. 38 and 36 are the Arizona Diamondbacks. San Francisco and Colorado, you can forget about them. But the Dodgers can lose 10 out of their next 15. It's about mostly not Arizona, but it's mostly about San Diego. Can they get on another hot streak to stay within striking distance of the Dodgers? I just don't trust that team right now. There's too much talent on that team. I know they got an ownership change in there, but I just don't trust the Padres 15 games. If the San Diego Padres, as they usually do around crunch time, trip over their own 2 feet, the Dodgers can win this division basically by winning 89, 92 games. But the Dodgers are a very good team. They'll probably win that division, winning 96, 98 games, and San Diego will probably barely squeak in with 85, 86 wins as one of the 3 wild card spots. But it's about San Diego. They've been really disappointing for me this year. For that talent to have just 3 games over 500, Fernando Tatis Jr. has 1 or 2 home runs. That's inexcusable in my opinion.
I mean, it's kind of funny how all that sort of works, but yeah, I mean, like I said, the Dodgers, they're not dominating, which I don't think that's a bad thing if you're the Dodgers. I think also, I think the fact they have to work for it, yeah, I know they're 9-up, but they still kind of have to work for it. So it's going to be very interesting to see if they can kind of like get it going here. But yeah, I think that's going to be kind of like where it is. So we'll see what happens. But like I said, I think that Dodgers division, I think they could have it wrapped up by the All-Star break. So, but we'll see what happens in these next 6 weeks. Now, going into this weekend in baseball, I mean, let's be honest, right? Let's be honest here. Toronto and the Cubs, of course, they're about to start in about 20 minutes from right now. The White Sox, and they're in Detroit in the Motor City. Like I said, Eric Fedde gets Tariq Skubal. Let's see how that goes. Cincinnati and the Yankees. That should be interesting there. San Francisco and Miami. Washington and Tampa, Milwaukee and Atlanta, San Diego and Texas, and staying in Texas, you got Houston and Cleveland.
Speaking of the Milwaukee Atlanta series, your starting pitcher from the Milwaukee Brewers tonight will be Jacob Mizorowski. You can see that game on MLB Network tonight at 6:15 p.m. Central Standard Time. Your rest of the schedule for this weekend in MLB, the Show Me series between St. Louis and Kansas City, or the quote-unquote 85 World Series rematch, will resume tonight. The second game of that series will be on Apple TV tonight at 7:15 p.m. Central Standard Time. The rest of your schedule, Pittsburgh visits Colorado. The Angels will visit the Oakland Athletics in Sacramento. The Minnesota Twins will take their show back on the road. They'll go out to Arizona. That first game of the series can be seen at 8:30 tonight on Apple TV. Baltimore will take on the Los Angeles Dodgers, and the Boston Red Sox will take on the LaKeena's second favorite team, the Seattle Mariners.
Your national TV schedule for the week, of course, Fox Saturday Baseball is back. We got that Mets and Phillies series. Most of you will get that. The rest of you will get Cleveland and Houston. Your Peacock and NBC games here, of course, Peacock, Minnesota and Arizona. World Series hero Luis Gonzalez, and also Twins former infielder Trevor Poole will be a part of that TV tandem there with Matt Vatskursion. And your other the NBC Peacock game for Sunday night, you got of course the Mets and the Phillies finishing up that series. You'll have John Franco, former all-time All-Star, and also Crucky, John Kruk from the Phillies. They'll be calling the game with Jason Minetti as part of the Sunday Night Baseball coverage. And that is your schedule for this weekend in MLB.
Hour number one's books are officially shut. Hour number two's doors will open following these messages right here on the Friday Funk edition of Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Tiago Splitter meets the Chicago media as new Chicago Bulls head coach. Where will Giannis Antetokounmpo land? The New York Knicks have a parade of a lifetime celebrating their first world championship in 53 years. LeBron James perhaps staying with Los Angeles. Shocking. We'll also preview the U.S. Open golf tournament this weekend, and we'll get into some World Cup action as well. And we'll salute a future Hall of Famer in the hockey world. I'm Sid. That's LaKeena. Listen to the Friday Funk edition of Second City Sports right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel. You can find us at Sports Zone Chicago, and on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Shy. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
How do you take care of your mind health?
For my mental health, I meditate in the mornings.
I have my dogs. They're the best.
I just find ways that help me just relax.
Finding things that make me happy, like being close to my family.
I meditate a lot and read books.
I have hobbies outside of the game. I'm able to switch off. I'm able to turn my brain off from the game of basketball.
Your mind health matters.
Your mind health matters.
It's a romance sport. What? It's a romance sport like that.
Your Marine Corps' way of life is to defend the American way of life. Every day, no matter where we serve, we take a stand for our nation, for each other, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Everybody in a work zone is someone somebody.
This is my mom. She works for KDOT.
This is my dad.
This is my mom.
This is my daddy.
This is my sister.
This is my daddy.
This is my son, Scott. He was killed while working in a highway work zone. When you drive through a work zone, drive like a life depends on it. Because it does.
Welcome back to hour number two of Second City Sports. Hashtag Friday Funk Edition. You're locked in. Oh, Chicago. LaKeena McGee is she. Sidney Brown here is me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, that's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, X, and the IG.
As we kick off hour number two, discussing the Bulls, the Knicks, and the rest of the NBA world, you could definitely have any questions or comments regarding the subject of pro basketball. You can definitely hit us up right now at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the opening screen for you.
On Wednesday afternoon, new Bulls head coach Tiago Splitter met the media. He filled a lot of questions, and and I will say the Bulls social media team has done a really good job. Of course, his first couple of days talking with players. You saw a couple of the players there, even Patrick Lee Williams. That shout out by Big Dave Watson from CHDO. Much to his chagrin, I'll say. Also, too, you saw Matas over there too. I know Coach Splitter said he's looking forward to working with him and improving him and watching him improve. So that's good. You saw they were there at his presser. I think he said something about he's from the coach the Popovich tree. Of course, he was assistant there for a little bit. He didn't want to get into what happened in Portland, which is probably smart on his part. But yeah, I think he was up front. I think they're gonna get a little bit of pop, a little bit of himself, and a little bit of a little bit more, kind of like his personality as well. I think he said he's the kind of coach where if you saw all the comments from his former players with the Blazers, every last one of them were all raving about him. So I think that's going to be the same here in Chicago. It'll be interesting to see how he and Bryson Graham and the rest of that front office kind of mesh together, especially with the draft coming up on Tuesday. Of course, with the Bulls with two top 15 picks, as clearly top 5 picks. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. I know he was very, upfront, say, look, it's going to take a while, but he sees a lot of improvement with this squad, especially once he's able to put his squad together. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with him and this Bulls squad, especially coming up Tuesday.
Just a little bit of a breaking news here, LaKeena. Shout out to the Leo Catholic High School young men's choir. They're doing the national anthem right now as we speak. You're watching live on Marquee. Yeah, I know they did the White Sox home. Yeah, I know they did the White Sox home opener earlier this year against Toronto. They're doing the national anthem for the Cubs and Blue Jays for the series opener today. Just shout out to those great young men. Going back to the Bulls, of course, with the new head coach, as we talked about, Tiago Splitter, he's been in the coaching ranks for over a decade, both as assistant. Now this will be his second stop as new head coach. You want a young coach like Tiago Splitter, who's not that far removed from his playing days. He can relate to today's young players. You have an open line of communication, trust, honesty, and just being direct and respectful to the young players. And I think that's what this Bulls team is going to experience. Like you said, I saw many of those comments from the Portland Trailblazer players on that squad, and they raved about the same thing. I had an interesting quote that I wanted to read to you from the article from the Athletic from yesterday, and this is Bryson Graham, who you mentioned he did not shy away once again from the word rebuild, but he had a quote that describes Tiago Splitter's personality, and I quote, "He's smart, he's curious as a coach in a game that is always changing. He wants to get better. He's got the right level of competitiveness. He's a good communicator. He connects well with players. He's been in that locker room, won at every high level, and he's got a vision, and that's so important when you're embarking upon something like this because we are starting at the ground floor." So as we said before, LaKeena, for the last couple of weeks on this show, I know the Bulls fans wanted to rebuild for the last several years, and now you have it, but are you going to be patient enough to see this go through? But as we said before, Tiago Splitter is the for lack of a better term, the perfect coach. I'm using air quotes here for the Bulls to start off from ground zero.
Yeah, like I said, he's the kind of guy that he'll be encouraging. He'll be tough on you when he needs to be. He'll be, really tough on you if you really need it. So I think he's definitely that perfect mix. I think he's not just one dimensional. I think that's what really I could see why, especially if you saw with what happened with Portland and all the players raving about him. So it's gonna be very interesting. Like I said, will some of those players that were there, will they be here, come training camp? We'll have to wait and see. But I think it's going to be interesting to see, how much. I'm sure he's going to have a lot of a say of who the Bulls will draft on Tuesday. And I think this is going to be very part where, will we see if will he even be here next year? We'll talk about Ayo in a second. I know Kendall Gill from CHSN said that he's open. I'm talking about Ayo Dosumo. He's open to coming back. I don't think he will, but we'll see. But it's gonna be very interesting to see how this sort of this squad gets together because, like you said, I know folks have been crying for me for the last 4 or 5 years. Well, look, Bryson Graham said, look, it's going to be a rebuild. Tiago Splitter, well, saying it, but he did say it's going to take a little bit. Will Bulls fans be patient? That's really going to be the $1 million question here.
Yeah, I was going to piggyback off your point about who's really going to be here when the Bulls are really good. As we said for the last couple of years with Matas Buzelis, Josh Giddey, are there superstars, franchise type players? No, they're supporting players. There are B levels of perhaps C level players that you can start with and you can play around with a little bit to help to jump the starting point. But are there going to be difference makers, A level superstars? No, the Bulls have lacked a A-level superstar since Derrick Rose, and that's been a little bit over a decade and a half ago. So the Bulls do not have that type of star power. As you mentioned, we'll dive deeper into the draft with our predictions coming up on our next episode on Monday. But is what it's trying to find that A-level type superstar. It starts with drafting those type of players and development, player development as well. And so with the players that you have on this roster now, they're very good players, but they're not going to be those types of players that takes you to that next level. You definitely need a difference maker, and it definitely starts in the draft.
And I think that's really going to be the interesting part about this. And like I said, we'll get more and more into the crux of it all on Monday. But I feel like the squad's going to look totally different. I'm sure Coach Splitter is going to have his footprint in that roster. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they do on Tuesday and what this roster is going to look like, because they've got some money in the cap. I don't think they're going to get a big star. I don't see it, but I think this is going to be kind of interesting to see how this Bulls team. They're going to play hard. They're going to defense. I think that's really going to be the key, because defense has been a question mark with the Bulls for the last 4 or 5 years through various coaches. So Coach Splitter was a pretty good defender in his own right when he was playing. So I think he's going to add his little footprint to it. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens here with that and what's the roster development and such.
Yeah, and speaking of trade rumors, I know we'll talk about this in a minute. And it tied, I read for some people it may tie to Chicago, but Trae Young, it looks like he's about to sign a new deal with the Washington Wizards. I know some people think that should be traded to Chicago. I'm not a fan of that. I wanted him drafted by the Bulls many moons ago. Obviously, that didn't happen, but do I want him here now? That's not a good idea. We talked about this on our last show on Monday, LaKeena, that San Antonio needs to trade De'Aaron Fox, especially after the performance that he had in the finals against the New York Knicks. Could Chicago be a realistic candidate to take on his contract? I would not be surprised, but I wouldn't do it personally if I was Bryson Graham. But like you said, we'll get to more nuts and bolts about the potential draft night deals on our show on Monday. But the Bulls do have some options. But like you said, I don't see them spending all that money because they started from the ground up. But you still need some veterans in here to carry out that message that Tiago Splitter is going to send to his young squad. But they're not going to spend the majority of that money. But you still need a veteran player, a couple of veteran players at the starting point to help carry out that message from Coach Splitter.
Going to be very interesting to see what happens here. Like I said, we'll get more and more into this with the draft and stuff coming up on Monday. But we're going to switch gears and talk some more NBA as we're into we'll talk about the Knicks parade in a bit here, but before we go to break. Well, yeah, just to piggyback off some of the rumors that are out there. We'll start with LeBron first. Now there's a report saying that LeBron could go back to the Lakers. On the new contract. This is according to Mark J. Spears. That's likely the scenario. And apparently also, according to Spears, Kevin Love could be joining him as well. Of course, there have also been rumors about him going to Golden State, joining Steph and the gang over there. Just so many rumors. It's just the hilarious of this is just insane. So, what do you think about all these rumors involving LeBron first?
Let me start out with that Golden State foolishness. I know many of you people in the media wanted LeBron and Steph to team up for years. If that was going to happen, it would have happened a decade ago before they started meeting up for those 4 straight final series from 2015 until 2018. But since that didn't happen, let your NBA 2K fantasy go. It's not going to happen. If it did happen, it's going to be disastrous. You have LeBron James and Steph Curry, two of the greatest players in this era of the NBA. They're definitely the top 15 players, greatest players of all time, in top 10. But putting them together right now makes no sense. LeBron James barely is going to give you 55 to 60 games in a season, regular season. Same thing with Steph Curry. Both of them have been injury prone on the last 4 or 5 years. You have Jimmy Butler on the roster right now. He's not going to play till if his rehab goes right till after the All-Star break. You still have Kristaps Porzingis over there. You don't know what the hell he's going to give you. He's injury prone too. Al Horford, love you, brother, but you got your championship a couple years ago. You should have retired. So, and Draymond Green, we all know that he's on his last legs. He's preparing for his next life on TV after his playing days. So, I don't know, unless I'm missing something, LaKeena. What the hell is this obsession with these two guys teaming up? I know that Steve Kerr is back for one more year. If you Steve Kerr, do you really want these problems? No, you don't. People, give it up. This is not 2K. Give it up. Now, with the Los Angeles Lakers.
Yes.
No, go ahead.
No. You bitched out about the Lakers because I'm just laughing at all this. This is just hilarious. Go ahead.
What the Lakers situation is, we've been saying all year, LeBron James is not going to make $54 million like he did this past season. And his best option is to go back to Los Angeles Lakers. I know they got Austin Reeves to take care of, which I think they will. Remember, this is Luka Doncic's team. We said this last year. We'll say it here again. This is Luka's team now. And we said midway after the All-Star break last year, LeBron James accepted that second-tier role to Luka Doncic last year. You saw the Lakers really take off. So I think LeBron James has accepted that fact that when he's healthy, he's definitely going to give you his best every night. He's just not going to be the lead dog that he has been over the majority of his career. Now, with Kevin Love joining him, I think Kevin Love, you're happy to get out of that hellhole in Utah. So for him, he's happy as hell. If he can sneak in one more ring, I think he'll be happy too. But for LeBron James, this is all about legacy for him at this point. And we all know that he loves having options just in case something goes wrong, and rightfully so. But I think his best options to make a respectable salary is to go back to Los Angeles Lakers. Now they got Rui Hachimura, another free agent, to take care of as well. Whether they let him walk, we'll see. But I think Austin Reeves is the most important one. If you lock him down to close to the max contract, I think it sets anything else for LeBron James to sign there as well. So LeBron James' best option is to stay with the Los Angeles Lakers. I know people want him to go back home to Cleveland to retire if things should fall apart with the Lakers. But if you really look inside the tea leaves of this, new owner Mark Walters, who comes over from the LA Dodgers, he's saying to LeBron, I'm sure he said this to him and Rich Paul and his people behind the scenes all year, we're running the show. You're on our timeline. We're not on your timeline anymore. We're not the Bus family anymore. This is a Mark Walters ownership group. You're on our timeline. So we're going to give you as a little bit of leeway here, but after the 4th of July, perhaps maybe at the end of the month of July, if you don't give us an answer, if it comes down to that, we're going to move on with or without you. So it's all in your court, LeBron.
You listen to Second City Sports on Sports Chicago. LaKeena, McGee, Steve Brown with you as we talk some NBA, LeBron and Giannis. We'll talk about Giannis in a bit here, but yeah, the whole LeBron Warriors thing. I think I just laugh because it's just hilarious that people have been lobbying for this for like almost a decade now. Like you said, it's not happening at this point, and I don't think Coach Kerr wants about it. I think he is going to go back to Los Angeles. I think to the Lakers. I mean, I think, look, he won't get the $54 million. I'm sure Mark Waltz already said you're not gonna get that $54 million. That money is gonna go elsewhere. If you can get a 2-year deal with an option for a second year, this way you can kind of see what they can do. Probably have to try maybe get a formidable third guy, to support of him and Luka. So it's gonna be interesting to see what they do with that money, with that sense. Now the Giannis stuff, I mean, we've been hearing rumors, we've been hearing Boston, we've been hearing Miami, and it's just like the rumors just won't stop. I mean, there's some people that say he could very well end up going back to Milwaukee. I don't think that's the case, but we'll see. But yeah, apparently now the rumors are Sam Amick is reporting that it could be a straight up trade between Giannis and Jaylen Brown from the Celtics. I mean, I don't know if you're the Suns, would you do that kind of trade? We'll see. The Pistons, it could be monitored as a potential third team because the Giannis Miami trade, they would probably have to involve a third team. So that's gonna be interesting to see what happens. So what do you think about what do you think about the Giannis rumors?
Yes, we talked about Giannis holds the keys to all this, and when you're a player like he is, your top 5, top 10 player when healthy in the NBA, you have options. And as we talked about with LeBron James just a moment ago, Giannis has the keys to all this. And so we talked about this past season, LaKeena, about him being wishy-washy about, oh, I want to stay with Milwaukee. I don't know. I want to stay here today, and then tomorrow I want to go here. And of course, what happened at the end of the season. He wanted to play with the Achilles injury. The Bucks management said, "Oh no, we're going to protect you from yourself, and we're going to protect our best assets, no pun intended. So we could trade you this summer." And look what's happening now. But with Giannis, I believe he's 31. He'll be 32 by the time next season hits, and so he's still got a good 2-3 good years left, healthy. I know he's been injured the last few years, but he's got good 2-3 years left before his skills start to decline officially. So if you go to a team like Miami, who he's going to pair up with, they really don't have anybody left. I know you still got Tyler Hero there. You got Bam Adebayo, assuming he's not part of a trade package, but you can start there. But if Bam Adebayo and or Tyler Hero is gone, you're basically starting over, in my opinion, via the Miami Heat. Now, the Boston Celtics are an interesting situation because Jaylen Brown, in my opinion, had an MVP type season. He played well beyond people's expectations, especially when Jason Tatum was out until Tatum came back in mid to late March of this past season. So I know Jaylen Brown snapped on IG and all that following that shocking playoff loss to Philadelphia in that first round. But, Boston has 2 players that they're paying big bucks to. That's Jason Tatum, who is the franchise player, and, of course, Jaylen Brown. And so for Boston, not probably more for them for financial reasons, you can move off that Jaylen Brown contract, which makes more sense for them financially. Now, we were sitting here last summer talking about could they move off of the contract of Kristaps Porzingis. Of course, they did. They traded him to Atlanta, got some players and some picks back. So Giannis holds the keys here to where he wants to go. And number 2 for the Milwaukee Brewers for the Bucks front office. What kind of fair compensation will you get here? I'm sure they're asking around for multiple first-round draft picks. They're probably going to take on a couple of bad contracts that they could just cut before the start of training camp. So a lot of things are in play here for Giannis. The decision is in his hands. But if you're the Bucks front office, can you get fair compensation, which is very tough to do for a player like Giannis?
Yeah, and I think that whole thing is really the $1 million question, right? I mean, Bam, I think he could be on the move. He could be leaving. And, here I know he's been such a lot of trade talks. So I think if you're Giannis, I think you want to go to a situation where I think you want to get a chance at another ring. Miami, could be a good spot. Boston could be a good spot too. But the thing is that with Miami, especially, they're going to have to get multiple teams, maybe 2, maybe 1 team, maybe another 2 teams. I see some people say maybe could get 4 teams because that's how complicated this whole thing is. So I would say wait me until this actually does go down, whether it's next week, during the NBA draft or maybe before July 31st. But just wake me when there's actually news, especially when that goes for LeBron too. I don't want to hear rumors. I don't want to read about rumors. I want to read about actual trades or actual signings somewhere. So I'm kind of over this already.
Yeah, I'll just set the record straight for these 2 storylines. If you can see my air quotes here. Do I think that Giannis will get traded on draft night? No. Do I think we'll have to wait until perhaps the start of training camp in late September? Yeah. Because, like I said, he holds the cards here. And for the Bucks front office, what fair compensation can you get for Giannis, especially from Boston and potentially Miami, both those teams potentially? And number 2, I saw some rumors that people want to team up Giannis and Golden State. As I said about LeBron James, that's not going to happen, folks. It's not. Especially you have a couple of players that are on their way to declining in Steph Curry and Draymond Green. Of course, you stick Giannis there. Okay, they look good on paper, but this Golden State team is not the same team that won the title 4 years ago. So Giannis to Golden State makes no sense. unless I'm missing something.
Yeah, I mean, look, like I said, we'll see what happens there. But yeah, like I said, Wake Me When there is actual news about this, so we'll see what happens there. Now, the Knicks they're still partying over there in New York City after they had their parade yesterday. It looks like I think I saw this whole there was like 5 or 6 million folks at that parade, ticker tape parade yesterday, and I saw, if you see some of the photos from the various spots. Our friend of the show, Ryan Field from ABC7 out there in New York City. I know he posts a lot of photos and videos and such from yesterday. Everyone got a chance to speak for the most part. I know Jalen Brunson was slamming a lot of critics, saying that the Knicks, kind of got lucky and they fell into the title, whatever, blah, 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 what have you. I know Cat's contract. I know he didn't sign a contract, so that's probably one of the first things that the Knicks are going to have to do during the off season. So, but yeah, I think that whole thing is, and also with the ratings, especially Game 5, which is going to be the clinching game, that was the most watched since '98. Game 5 peaked at 33 million, and it got billions of views. So I think if you're the NBA, I think you have to be feeling pretty good about not only, maybe not how the season, because it probably should, should win another 6 games, but the fact that 33 million people saw the clincher at its peak when the Knicks clinched it, I think you gotta be celebrating for ABC and ESPN.
Remember, it was on a Saturday night, technically right before summer. The New York Knicks are the number 1 team, market team in the NBA. They're the number 1 city population. 3, 2, 1. As far as population here, United States. Yeah, thank you. Population here, United States. They haven't won in a long time, in 53 years. On the flip side, you have the Spurs and the new face of the NBA, the Unicorn and Victor Wembanyama. So those two storylines are people, not just hardcore NBA fans, but casual fans will tune into that as well, and that's exactly what happened. But for the New York Knicks, they have celebrity world, whether you want to accept it, like it or not, you have to accept it, of course. With Tracy Morgan, Spike Lee, Taylor Swift, go away. And of course, I forgot her name, the actress from Law and Order SVU. She's been she's been making her rounds lately.
Have been besties. They've been besties for years.
So she's been making her rounds too. Shout out to her. But you had that element as well. But you had some damn good basketball between these two teams. Like you said, this should have been a 7-game series. Thank you, San Antonio, for choking in their 4 losses, even though you had to lead 72% of the time in the series. But you saw some compelling basketball. Jalen Brunson, the people who didn't know who he was, you saw him grow up in front of your eyes. You saw the Knicks, especially after what happened in Game 4 with the largest comeback in NBA Finals history. They were a lovable bunch throughout the United States. People got on board, and you saw what happened. They finished the job last Saturday night. So with the league offices being in New York City, with the Knicks being the marquee franchise in the NBA next to the Celtics and the Lakers, you saw that storyline play out. In this is not the Patrick Ewing, Charles Oakley, which they make amends with him, talking about the James Dolan and them, but that's a whole nother issue for a whole nother time. But with the league offices in the background in New York City, you have a team that haven't won in a long time. They actually got the job done on the biggest stage. You can't help but celebrate that and respect that if you're a basketball fan.
Absolutely. So we'll see what the Knicks can do here. And I guess I'm sure they're going to have some questions in the off season as well. We'll take a really quick break, of course. The U.S. men's soccer team, they're gearing up for a big group play match against Australia, but they'll be without one of their top players. We'll talk about that. A U.S. Open update over at Shinnecock. Some media news. Speaking of the good ratings for the Stanley Cup final. More sports media news as a rising sports anchor reporter here in Chicago says her goodbyes. And so much more. LaKeena McGee, Sidney Brown, Second City Sports on Sports Chicago Sports Purple Reset, but coming up right after this.
Poof. Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms, on Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel. You can find us at Sports Zone Chicago, and on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Shy. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
Got it done here. Ouch! And we're gonna make sure you lit this time. Ouch! You're not gonna get me this time.
Ow, Manny!
Whoops! Let's try an easy one.
Every day, we take steps to keep the people we love safe, but some health risks are easy to miss. Ticks hiding in the yard can spread germs, like the ones that cause Lyme disease. Mice searching for food can spread bacteria that makes us sick. Mosquitoes lay eggs in standing water and can spread West Nile virus and more. Cockroaches are drawn to water in the home, leaving behind allergens that can trigger asthma attacks. Common pests can threaten our health. Learn how to protect your family at pestworld.org.
Hey, this is Corey McGee, and I listen to Sean and Maya on the morning show.
Welcome back to Second City Sports with the hashtag Friday Fun Edition. You're locked and loaded, and we're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid the Kid is me. LaKeena McGee is she. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, X, again, the IG.
This is our sports potpourri segment. This is our last break of the show for today and for the week. So if you have any last minute questions or comments on any of the topics we discussed thus far on today's show, you can definitely hit us up, not now, but right now at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the up on the screen for you.
Off to the World Cup we go here at a World Cup update as the U.S. men, they're gearing up for their second match in group play against Australia in Seattle, but unfortunately they'll be without one of their top players, Christian Pulisic, who injured his calf in their match against Paraguay last week. Unfortunately, news came across the wires about an hour ago that he'll be out. Not ideal against a very good Australia squad. I said when the groups when we first started talking about it. I know Australia is probably the few team that can give the U.S. a hard time, and it looks like without Pulisic, that's probably going to be the case. So, yeah, this is going to be very tough for the United. It was going to be tough anyway, but now without Pulisic, it's going to be even tougher for the U.S. here in this matchup coming up. We'll start in about 20 minutes from now.
Anytime without one of your top players, if you don't have the depth to cover that up, it's going to be tough for anybody. So, like you said, I know the crowd in Seattle is going to be festive, is going to be uplifting, but like you said, without one of your top players, it's definitely going to be tough. So, like you said, the United States is going to have a tougher hill to climb. If they can force a draw, I think that's going to be a miracle in itself. But we'll see what happens with that. Your results from yesterday: Czechia and South Africa ended in a 1-1 tie. Switzerland dominated Bosnia-Herzegovina 4-1. Canada got by Qatar 6-0, and of course Mexico with a 1-0 win over South Korea.
Yeah, well, nice.
Any surprises there from your vantage point?
No. So it's kind of what I expected. I mean, that's Switzerland and Canada when they face each other next week. That's going to be for the group. That's going to be a big there. It was a gaffe by the South Korean goalkeeper. I know that poor guy. I know he's going to have nightmares about that. He kind of let the ball went past him. And Luis Romo, to his credit, was able to sneak that past him. And of course, that's how Mexico. That probably ends up winning Group A right there for Mexico. So yeah, I know South Korea is going to be kicking themselves because they stayed with Mexico the whole match, but that one little gap cost them, and perhaps maybe the group there. Now, of course, with the United States, Scotland and Morocco also, they'll be in Massachusetts, Brazil and Haiti. That'll be in Philadelphia. And Turkey in that same group there. Turkey and Paraguay is probably could be for third place in that group. They play in Santa Clara. That'll be the night match coming up tonight. Let's see here for tomorrow. The Netherlands and Sweden, that'll be on Fox. Germany and Ivory Coast, that should be a fun one. That'll be on Fox as well. Ecuador and Curacao on FS1. And Tanzania and Japan, that'll be on FS1 as well. Your matchups for Sunday, Spain, which got a draw against Cape Verde, which is probably one of the biggest surprises of the tournament so far. They face Saudi Arabia on Fox on Sunday at 11 a.m. Belgium and Iran, that'll be on FS1 at 2. Uruguay and Cape Verde, we'll see if they can keep up their big surprise one here on FS1 at 5. And New Zealand and Egypt to cap it off the weekend on FS1. Remember, all these matches are on Fox, FS1, telenovela, those of you who want to see the match, watch the matches in Spanish, Fox 1, as well as some will be, you can watch the U.S. matches on Tubi. So it's all right there for you if you're into the World Cup. So it's all right there for you.
You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago City. LaKeena here, kicking it with you on the hashtag Friday Funk Edition. LaKeena, I wish Christine, the Queen Manica, was here today, but I know she's watching this big U.S. Open golf tournament is taking place in Southampton, New York State, as we speak. But Wyndham Clark is in the lead right now with the -7. He shot a -1 earlier today. Do you think he hangs on to win? And what other golfers do you think they can make a run between now and Sunday?
There's Ed Shockley, who actually, remember, he has a U.S. Open already. He is creeping up there. Matt Fitzpatrick, of course, he has a couple of majors, so he's right there too. Colin Morikawa, who just became a dad about a month ago. It should be a fun one here. He's gonna be right there. So you got a lot of experienced guys right there. Near the top. And remember, Rory McIlroy is not too far behind there as well. He has a couple of these U.S. Opens. So, yeah, he's tied for 7th right now. He just started. Keegan Bradley, who also has U.S. Open, he's right there. Justin Thomas, he's been close a couple of times at the U.S. Open. I know Gary Woolen, who has one. He's right been striking this. So there's going to be a lot of names here. Tommy Fleetwood, is right there too. So yeah, a lot of names.
I was crazy about him. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're all right there. And if you're wondering where Bryson DeChambeau was, well, he was tied for 9th. He's now down to like 83rd. Unfortunately, tied for 83rd now. He had a bad front 9 that kind of killed him. So his struggles to continue there. So yeah. The names I mentioned, those are probably the ones to watch for. And the weather shouldn't be an issue out there in Shinnecock. So this should be a fun one, U.S. Open, as it usually is. And, of course, you can watch the U.S. Open. You can watch that on NBC U.S. Network and streaming on Peacock.
Just a couple of names. I'll get your opinion on both. Justin Rose, he's at a plus run right now. He shot an even par earlier today. And I think you mentioned this guy's name, but I'll mention it anyway. Alex Fitzpatrick.
Yes. Well, yeah. Matt. I mentioned Matt, not Alex. So yeah, Alex has a couple of tour tournaments this year. He could definitely. He has this. He just started teeing off, so he could also be a factor here as well. So I think those guys could be some good names to watch for too. So yeah, so you got a little bit of names. Like I said, I don't know if that 7 under is going to be the winning score. Of course, Wyndham. First for the South tees. The Northern tees are a lot tougher. So I think that score is going to come down a little bit. So, I think this should be interesting how this sort of shakes out there. Like I said, the U.S. Open, the weather shouldn't be an issue over there. So, it might rain. It might rain a little bit, I think, on Saturday. I got to check that real quick tomorrow. But I think for the most part, the weather should be good for the most part. It could. I know it got delayed because of heavy rain, so that kind of mess with the course a little bit, and the wind. It could rain again tomorrow, so don't be surprised. There might be some shuffling, and it might play like a links golf course. And we're over at the Open Championship with the rain and the wind. So Saturday it's going to be let's just say it'll be the survival of the fittest tomorrow. So it should be interesting.
If you're watching us live in the living color right now, checking in on the Cubs Blue Jays contest on the north side, Carson Kelly just knocked out his 4th home run of the year, a grand slam. The Cubs lead the Toronto Blue Jays 6-0 in the bottom of the first over at the friendly confines at Wrigley Field. That's the first game of that 3-game weekend series. A couple of names real quick, LaKeena. A couple other names. I think they're long shots. It's safe to say Victor Hovland is at a +5 overall, along with Bryson DeChambeau at +5. I know they're at the projected cut line is at +3. Both those guys, as you mentioned, at a +5. Do either of those guys have a shot?
I guess yes. I've been kind of going back and forth, but yeah. I think Bryce. I think like he's kind of at crossroads right now. I know he's going through a slump, but it's like he's gonna miss another cut. So he may have to whatever he's doing, he may have to rethink some things. We'll talk. We talked about it now. We talked about it a little bit there. Victor Hovland, I know he's been struggling. I know he's had some issues as well. But it doesn't look like he's going to be able to make the cut either. Like I said, the cut line is at +3. So, yeah, that's going to be tough. But like I said, the U.S. Open is always a tough battle. So I don't think they'll be able to pass it, unfortunately. But again, we'll see. But I think the cut line, yeah, that's going to be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, I just don't see neither one of those guys making it.
You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. See LaKeena here, kicking it with you. We still have a little bit more time before we shut it down for the weekend. Let's do that hockey, LaKeena, and let's talk about Captain Series, aka Jonathan Toews. Of course, he announced his retirement. The news came out yesterday. He had his press conference earlier this morning. Of course, he's a 3-time Stanley Cup champion with the Chicago Blackhawks from 2010, 2013, 2015. Conn Smythe Trophy winner, playoff MVP from 2010. The Frankie J. Selfie Trophy for the best forward in the league in 2013. The Mark Messier Leadership Award in 2015. He was a 5-time NHL All-Star 2009, 2011, 12, 15, 16, and 17. The NHL's second All-Star team in 2013. The EA Sports NHL Cup of Athlete 2016 and 2011. And he was named one of the 100 greatest players of all time in the NHL in 2017. Of course, he won multiple gold medals with Team Canada from many years ago. He has the most overtime goals in Blackhawks history, 16. The most career shootout goals with 52. Most shootout goals in the season with 8 in 2010. The most assists in a playoff year in 22 and 2010 when they won their first of 3 Stanley Cups. And most points in their playoff career with 29 and in the year 2010, tied with Denis Savard. And the most overtime goals in the season with 5 in 2016.
Yeah, not bad for a 16-career career. I think he won 3 gold medals, I believe, during his career with Canada. Unfortunately, medical issues. Of course, you know he was very upfront about it. He had issues after he suffered from long COVID, so that kind of hampered his career a bit with respiratory issues and stuff like that. So that kind of got his career into a standstill. I am glad, though, that he able to spend the last couple of years with Winnipeg. That's where he's from. He grew up just outside Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. So I'm glad he was able to play there for a couple of years before calling it a career. Yeah, Captain Serious, but if you saw some of, during those 3, of course, we've been celebrating those 3 Stanley Cup final wins for the Blackhawks. He was a big part of those, and he's definitely one of those guys where, he was a leader. Of course, like you say, he won the Mark Messier Leadership Award. He's one of those guys that kind of got the best out of everybody and demanded the best for himself, and he did that. You saw all his stats. So I think he's definitely a first ballot Hall of Famer when he's up for eligibility in a few years. And I'm sure the Blackhawks, I'm sure they'll be up there. I'm sure they'll have him as an ambassador. I'm sure you're going to be seeing him a lot next year. I'm sure he'll be traveling back and forth. But yeah, I think he's definitely one of those guys not just here in the Blackhawks, but all of Chicago. I think he's definitely one of those revered icons in Chicago who will be, known for a long time.
Yeah, not only were he was a flashy player, but he was a greedy player as well. He got into the tough areas of the ice. He scored those tough goals in the middle of the ice and in between the creases as well. And like you say, he was one of the best leaders of all time. Him and Patrick Kane were one of the many the main resets for that Blackhawks era during those Stanley Cup years. And his stoicism in his leadership was very critical to those Blackhawks teams. Of course, other parts played a part as well, as I mentioned, with Patrick Kane, Christopher Steed, Patrick Sharp, and some of the other players, Dustin Bufflin, especially during that first Stanley Cup year in 2010. So Jonathan Toews is a blueprint of a hockey player, of a captain that you need on your team. Like you mentioned, he was a fan favorite when he came back to Chicago in that Winnipeg uniform this past season. The Blackhawks fans gave him a standing ovation, and rightfully so. And also, too, you mentioned about the Blackhawks should make him an ambassador, which I think they will. They should be working on giving him a statue right now and have his jersey number retired. At least make an announcement prior to the start of next season.
Yeah,
I think Danny Wirtz will do the right thing.
Yeah, I think Danny Wirtz already working on that. I think now that he's officially retired, I'm sure he filed the paperwork and stuff. So I'm sure Danny Wirtz already working on it. For the ambassadorship and like you said, the statue and all that. So I'm sure he's already working overtime on that right now as we speak. So yeah, so just an amazing career. Like I said, definitely gets the Hall of Fame first ballot. Like I said, you're probably going to be seeing them a lot out in Chicago at the UC, at least a couple of times, I'm sure, a year. So, yeah, just a really great player and just an overall great guy as well. I know we all call him, you got the name Captain Serious, but for all accounts, he's really really warm and really actually a pretty funny guy too. When he kind of lets it all out there. So maybe we'll see a whole different personality now that he's retired.
Yeah, like I said, we saw that in bits and parts throughout that whole Stanley Cup run. But like you said, hopefully we'll see a little bit more relaxed version of Captain Series now that he's officially retired. You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports on Chicago City. LaKeena here with you. LaKeena, as always, has the sports media news and nuggets for us. Please share it with the rest of the class.
Well, she made this announcement on Wednesday. She posted on her Instagram, but she kind of made official last night. Tia Nguyen, who we were hoping to get on the show, but when she first came here to Chicago from Texas, but that ended up not being the case. But she made the announcement in the last couple of days that she is leaving Fox Chicago for. I'm sure I'm sure she'll share her within the next week or two. She'll probably share her next move. It sounds like it was her decision to leave. Not. I know there's been a lot of turnover at Fox the last few weeks, but it was her decision to leave. And yeah, she said that she did a great job. Of course, she got a chance to watch kind of research at White Sox. She watched a Cubs playoff. She followed that, of course, of the Bears and what they've done and some of the other sports and their success too. So she saw a little bit in her 2.5 years here. She'll definitely be missed, but it sounds like bigger, brighter things are ahead for her.
Yeah, like I said, she came to Chicago from Las Vegas. She covered the Raiders. She did a great job covering that organization. Of course, she did great work here in Chicago. She had some exclusive interviews. So now with former Bull Kobe White, she did interview the new Bulls head coach and Tiago Splitter yesterday. And you mentioned with the researchers of Chicago sports, she was right in the middle of that, especially with during the last season with the Chicago Bears with another good friend of the show, Miss Cassie Carlson. For Fox 32. So she did some great work. She also hosted Chicago Sports Tonight, especially during those Sunday night shows, hosting it with the various guests. Hopefully we could get on those programs one day, LaKeena. But with that being said, she did a great job. She knew what she was talking about. Not community. She was tied into what was going on within the city of Chicago sports scene. So she'll definitely be missed. She definitely has a personality that can last in this business for a while. So like you said, she's going to share what she's going to do next. And I'm sure she's going to be great at that adventure too.
Yeah, she came, like you said, she came from Vegas. So could she perhaps maybe be doing some NFL stuff? Could she be doing some national stuff over at either Fox or Fox Sports, or maybe ESPN? I know there's a lot of turnover over there at ESPN. Bringing a lot of younger folks. So we'll see. But yeah, like I said, we saw her in the last couple of years. I'm glad Chicago embraced her not just being a woman, but also being a woman of color. Of course, she's Asian, and I know Chicago embraced her, and I'm sure gonna be interesting to see what happens. Of course, we know Sam Pennyhoff is over there now. I'm sure it's gonna be interesting to see who they bring in to replace her. But we know we have a couple of folks that we know that probably could fill that void. But well, I'm sure they'll have somebody in place for sure for Bears training camp. But but continued success to her, and good luck to her whatever she does. I'm sure she'll kill it.
Yeah, congratulations to her, and like I said, she'll be great in her next adventure. Not to advertise other people's programs, but a couple months ago, LaKeena, I know he has a YouTube channel now, but Lawrence Holmes for now 103.3 The Score. Of course, he has his own YouTube channel called House of L. He interviewed Tina about 3 or 4 months ago. It was a great interview to get into her personality, to see what she's all about. So for those of you that haven't checked out that interview from a few months ago, please go to the House of L podcast right here on YouTube. He interviewed Tina Nguyen a few months ago, and to learn, if you guys don't know a little bit more about her personality, her background, she shared a lot of her stories with Lawrence. So go check it out this weekend on YouTube at the House of L YouTube channel.
Now, speaking of the YouTube channel, of course, if you guys have checked out Rich Eisen's This Was Sports Center, he has a new episode with Linda Cohn. Of course, ESPN veteran. I know he's interviewed also Dan Patrick. He spilled some tea there. If you guys check that out on his YouTube channel, if you guys haven't seen it yet, but yeah, I'm glad this has been a good thing to kind of like open up the books, if you will, to what the sports stars back in those days were like. So if you guys haven't checked it out, I know it's been a couple episodes. Like I said, the newest episode with Linda Cohn just launched earlier this morning. So guys, I'll check that out over the weekend. But they've spilled some tea within the last these last couple episodes. Something we probably may have known, but something you probably didn't know.
Yeah, like I said, we'll discuss this more on future shows, perhaps maybe near the 4th of July holiday. I think we may have a little bit more time to discuss that. But I saw just the clips, and I haven't seen the full episode yet. I'll use this weekend to catch up. But I saw a couple of clips from the debut episode of Dan Patrick, and Dan Patrick's been around for a long time. Remember, folks, he was at CNN before he went to ESPN. Mm-hmm. So he was sharing a couple of nuggets there as well. Of course, Linda Cohn, one of the first female sports broadcasters at ESPN. So, she has a lot to share. Of course, she's a hockey queen as well. So a big time hockey fan. So I know she spent a lot of time. I'm sure she spent a lot of time with Rich talk about hockey as well. So, and she has her own YouTube channel right now. So we'll have more to discuss in the coming shows about this episode. So, I'm a big fan of Rich Eisen. He does great work. So you can hear his show daily on ESPN Radio. I know it's on AM 1000 here in Chicago, at least the last 2 hours of the show. But Rich Eisen does great work, and like you said, we'll definitely talk about these first 2 episodes on the upcoming shows.
All right, and we're going back to the hockey. Of course, of course, the Hurricanes are the champions. They've won their second Stanley Cup in their franchise history, and despite with it being, I do not to say that Vegas is a small market, but even still, look, I mean, 135 million fans watched in total. Game 5 actually ended up rated very well. I think it was one of the highest rated clinching games in about a decade or so for the Stanley Cup. So yeah, so look, I think if you're ESPN, you gotta be feeling pretty good about those ratings as well, despite. Again, Vegas is not a small market, but considering the fact that it's not really a hockey market, it actually rated very well. So, if you're ESPN, you gotta be feeling pretty good about that.
Yeah, as we said, this was one of the best competitive series since the Blackhawks' last championship against Tampa in 2015. As we said before, like I said, it was heightened by that Game 3 double overtime thriller. All those games were very close in this series. People just want to watch a competitive product. And yes, both those cities that competed for the Stanley Cup are not traditionally hockey markets. So, excuse me. So, for those two teams to display the greatness that the game of hockey has to offer, they did a great job. As I told you, LaKeena, not the last show, but the show before, I enjoyed that series, to be honest with you. I'm not going to sit and say it's the greatest of all time. The greatest of all time, no, it's up there in top 5, top 10, given what we've seen over, like you say, over the last decade or so. But it's a testament to what Carolina's been doing, as we talked about on our last show, for the last several years under your guy Rob Brindamore. I know that Coach Tortorella has stepped down from Vegas, but I know some people were sick of them because they almost had instant success ever since entering the league about 7-8 years ago. But that's a good hockey market now, and of course the fans have gotten behind them, and rightfully so, and they've been competitive almost in the league. So you had the two clashes of the Titans here of the small markets, so they gave us great hockey for those 2 weeks.
So it was a fun series nonetheless. Like that would have been nice to have gone 6 or 7. It would have been 7, I should say. It would have been nice, but like I said, it was still competitive for what it was. Like I said, I think the Hurricanes just wanted them more.
Yeah, and like we said on our last show, Carolina finally got over that mountain. They were like the Colorado Avalanche from a couple of years ago. They were kind of like some of the other teams that try to get over that hump, but they finally got over the hump and they won. And let's see if they can run it back next year. It's definitely going to be tough because, like we said the other day, you still have Florida, you still have Boston. Buffalo could be a sneaky good pick next year. Of course, the rest of the conference is always interesting. I think that conference is still going to be up for grabs. So Carolina's going to have some competition for sure for next year. It's definitely not going to be easy. Like we said, they weren't tested as much outside of the first round series against Ottawa. They didn't get tested until they got to the Stanley Cup final. So, but they earned it. They deserved it. It's going to be a tougher competition next year.
All right. So anything else before we disperse?
I'm not going to be in these baseball streets this weekend, i.e. the White Sox. So I have a chance to actually relax, catch up on a few things, and maybe check out some U.S. Open here and there. So it's going to be a relaxing weekend for you boys. So I'm going to enjoy these next 2 days and make the best of it.
All right. Yeah, I was say it's going to be a fun sports weekend, of course. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers, uncles, stepdads, and father figures out there. I know people get on fathers but there are some good fathers out there. So celebrate them today and every day. So just want to give it a shout. And single mothers, sorry, this is not about y'all. So y'all can miss me with that one.
Thank you.
Again, not going to go on a tangent about that. We don't got time. But so look, you got the U.S. Open. Of course, the Father's Day tradition. You got the baseball. I know college baseball. I know it's going on right now. I know that that they're starting to get down to the wire here, and I think North Carolina is part of. I think it's North Carolina and Oklahoma for the championship series, a best of 3, and that starts tomorrow. So that'll be on ESPN tomorrow, and also Sunday that'll be on ABC the afternoon. So ABC giving college men's baseball a little bit of love. So make sure you guys check that out if you guys are into that. Also WNBA. I know the Sky hasn't been very good lately. They do have a game tomorrow against the Dallas Wings. That'll be on CBS and Paramount Plus. So you guys can check that out if you want. I know that because I know they haven't been playing well lately, but Angel Reese is doing her thing over in Atlanta. That's all I gotta say about that. They won yesterday. So
are you surprised?
No, not really. They're 10-4. They got one of the best records they got one of the best records in the league right now, and they actually have extended they're going to extend their. I guess they're going to extend their season to 50 games. I don't know how that's going to work. You're going to have to expand the rosters, but we'll see about that. But real cool. Yeah. That's they're going to have to extend the roster. They want to make that work. But real quick though, I know we're up against it, but the MLB has announced their new format for the home run derby, which will start this year. What do you think, Sid?
Okay, I just hope it's been entertaining with these new rules over the last few years. I actually enjoyed it, but I just hope they don't mess this up. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah,
and don't forget it's going to be on Netflix this year.
Yes, exactly. I guess they got to liven up, so it's going to be streaming, not going to be on a national network. So maybe that's their way of trying to get more people to tune in. But I don't know. All right, I got nothing to say about that. You follow McGee on the Twitter. Here's going to IG. I got nothing else.
You can follow your Shirley. You can follow your Shirley Sidney Brown on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. Be sure to download the Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
Be sure to catch Second City Sports live in the living color every Monday, every Friday from 12:15 to 2:15 p.m. Central Standard Time right here on Sports Zone Chicago. One more again, as the kids would say. Be sure to catch Second City Sports live in the living color every Monday, every Friday from 12:15 to 2:15 p.m. Central Standard Time right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
And if you miss an interview or if you miss when we do our NFL picks in season or anything else, don't worry. You can catch this, the replays all right there on the Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook and YouTube channels. You can catch replays of our show, Sean Sierra Sports, the Smoke Fellas. I think they're going to be back on tomorrow, I believe. Already part of great content. You can catch the replays anytime, anywhere on Sports Zone Chicago's YouTube channels.
And you know we will provide.
All right, folks, enjoy the golf, enjoy the college baseball, the soccer, MLB baseball, WNBA if you're into that, and so much more. But enjoy the weekend. Be safe out there and stay dry. I know it's gonna be raining with the next couple of days in a lot of the country. So be safe out there and stay dry. For Sid, I'm the kids with Second City Sports on Sports Chicago, and we'll see you guys next week.
Once again, happy Father's Day, and no pun intended, Papa was not a Rolling Stone. Go Sox, holla!